The Great Stink-Off, Shartington vs. Stinkville Soccer Showdown Chapter 1, Sharting on the Field. It was the day of the big soccer match between Shartington and Stinkville. Max and the Shart Squad were pumped. They'd been practicing for weeks, but there was one problem: they couldn't stop sharting. "Come on, Max. We're about to start," Jake called out as Max let out a loud shart. "Sorry," Max laughed, jogging toward his team. "It just slipped out." As they lined up on the field, the air was filled with tension and an undeniable stink. The Shartington kids were known for their sharting, but the Stinkville team had their own issues. They smelled like something had crawled out of a dumpster and died. Chapter 2, The Stinkville Surprise. As soon as the game started, it became clear that Stinkville wasn't just a regular team. They smelled terrible. The Shartington kids could barely concentrate on the game with the foul stench coming from the other team. Max passed the ball to Maya, who quickly dodged a Stinkville defender. But just as she was about to make a run for the goal, another shart escaped her. "Dang it," she muttered, trying to focus despite the chaos. On the other side of the field, Jake was dealing with his own problems. "It's like they never showered in their lives," he shouted, holding his nose as he chased the ball. The game was a mess, with sharts echoing across the field and the smell of Stinkville making it nearly impossible for anyone to breathe. Chapter 3, Sharting and Stinking. As the first half of the game went on, things only got worse. Max shart so hard that he tripped and fell face-first into the grass. Maya was trying to dribble the ball but kept losing focus because of the overpowering stench. "Ugh, it's like a fart tornado out here," she groaned, trying to catch her breath. Meanwhile, the Stinkville kids weren't doing much better. They were used to their own smell, but the constant sharting from Shartington was throwing them off their game. By halftime, both teams were exhausted, and the score was tied at 1-1. Chapter 4, The Ref Turns to Stone. The second half started, and things quickly took a turn for the worse. As Max tried to pass the ball to Jake, he let out a loud shart. The smell mixed with the stench from the Stinkville kids, creating a toxic cloud that seemed to hover over the field. The referee, who had been struggling to keep up with the game, suddenly stopped in his tracks. His face turned pale, and before anyone knew it, he was frozen solid, turned to stone by the overwhelming stench. "Oh no!" Max shouted. "We've got to finish this game before the entire field gets covered in stone." Chapter 5, The Shart That Saved the Day. With the ref turned to stone, the game continued in chaos. The Stinkville kids were using their stench to their advantage, while the Shart Squad tried to keep their sharts under control. It was the final minute of the game, and the score was still tied. Max dribbled the ball down the field, sharting as he ran. Just as he reached the goal, he tripped over his own feet, sending the ball flying into the air. "Now's your chance," Maya yelled. Suddenly, Jake let out the loudest shart of his life. The force of it sent the ball sailing through the air, curving past the Stinkville goalie and landing straight into the net. "Goal!" Max shouted as the Shartington team erupted into cheers. Chapter 6, Burgers. After the stink-off. After the game, both teams headed to the local burger joint to celebrate, or in the case of Stinkville, to wash off some of the stink. Despite the chaos on the field, the kids laughed and joked about the game. Max sat down with a huge burger in front of him, grinning from ear to ear. "I can't believe we won with a shart." "Best shart of my life," Jake said proudly, biting into his burger. The Stinkville kids, who had finally started to smell a little better, joined in the fun, laughing about how their stench had almost turned the entire field to stone. In the end, the Shartington kids had proven that no matter how messy things got, they could always find a way to win, even if it involved a little sharting. The end for now.